Hello, this is the Truth Seeker, and in this video I'm going to share my unemployment experience and my job search experience. So I was unemployed for 17 months, but just recently got a job. Yay! So these are some of the things that I did during that time off. And I'm not going to get into how to write a better resume or how to interview better, because there's plenty of job sites with all that information on it. And I'll let the real, quote unquote employment experts, teach you that. But what I'm going to share with you is what I learned on the streets, okay, like in the heat of this long period of unemployment. And so there's really 10 things that I'll share. First off, I just want to say I found CareerBuilder to be a more effective site than Monster.com. That's just my experience, but I've talked to some other people, and they've kind of felt the same. And I've word, on the street, kind of rumor is, that CareerBuilder was overtaking Monster.com just in popularity. But I think that it also caters better to the temporary agencies and the job agencies much better than Monster does, because for one reason only, I simply got more calls from my resume on CareerBuilder than I did, excuse me, than I did on Monster. Not to say that you shouldn't use other job sites. Go right ahead and make sure and keep a record, either a little notebook or a text file of all your passwords for every job application and every job site, in one place, so that you can access that real easily. I usually I have a little flash drive, and I have all my resumes on there. I have all my passwords for everything. But you can use a little notebook, or you can use a little like phone book or something like that. That works out real well. But so what I like about CareerBuilder, just one thing I just say off the bat, is you can make a copy of your current resume, and then you can upload a new resume and delete your previous resume. And I used to do this like every week or every other week, and that kind of threw me into this quote unquote, new category. For some reason, whenever I did that, it was like a day later, or maybe even like, 4 hours later, depending on when I uploaded it. But most definitely, like a day later, I would just be getting phone calls from recruiters, So it's like I knew, when I updated that resume, that it was going to throw me into that category. So that's just a little trick that I kind of discovered that got things moving a little bit. Now, number one, you don't want to spend all your time just searching jobs on the internet. So what you want to do is break up your this routine monotony of just searching day in, day out, 4 hours in the morning, take a lunch 4 hours after that, job search, But what you need to do is break this up with other activities. Not to say that you have to do that, because yes, that's part of the whole, job search routine, is just sitting there point and click, and scanning through these things. But what I suggest, number two, is I've got notes here I'm referring to. Number two is a lot of job sites, CareerBuilder included, have advanced search capabilities, and you can save your searches so that every day when you log back in, you can perform the same search over and over again. Now this is a real time saver because it will, narrow your search to, 15 miles within a certain zip code, or, these companies I'm interested in. But I say this because also you can exclude information. And this is important because information overload, okay? You need to exclude companies that are just like scams, the ones that just want you to go to school unless you're interested in going to school. But seriously, I had some searches on CareerBuilder that excluded like 10 different companies that were just fly-by-night operations, and when I'd log in, I'd hit that search, and you will be amazed at how that limits your possibilities, and how, whereas before you're getting like 14 pages of results, boom, you narrow it down to like 5, and you're not looking at all that crud, all those scams. And you want to be wary of scams because the unemployed are real susceptible to be pulled into these kinds of scams. And so that's number 2. Number three, I would say, spend time updating your reference letters. Now these are the letters that you get from your previous employers, previous supervisors, stating such and such is an excellent worker, and while they were here they showed we saw marked improvement in our operations, such and such. So you want to have those, because I have some here, some scanned versions on PDF, but you want to have actual copies of them too. So this is an activity that you can just break up the monotony of your job search, these job searching activities, and spend a day, calling up your previous employers. If your references are not up to date, for instance, I had some in the last year that I looked at, and they were from 2004. Well, some of the agencies I went with were like, well, these are too old. We need some more recent references. And so you might spend a day trying to get in contact with these individuals, sending off emails to see if you can get an updated version of the reference letter, or reestablish your contacts with these references. And so that is an activity that I had to learn the hard way that you need to do. So number 4, and there's 10 points, by the way. So number 4 is and spend a day. So this is another activity that you can do besides just spending all your time crouched over the monitor, looking through possibilities. Number 4 would be spend a day verifying your past employment information. Okay. Now, I know this sounds simple, but a lot of employers, if your information is not exactly right, it will just be put into the other pile. So let's say they go to call these employers, and the number you gave, maybe you just flipped a digit and you put the wrong phone number down, or maybe that past employer moved and their address location is no longer in that city, they moved to the city next door. So this is just a couple examples that if employers or agencies are trying to verify your past employment and they run into a little snafu like that, boom, you're in the bad pile. So what you need to do is call up your past employers, because I remember I had one that was like, was that in June or was that in July that I worked there? So call them up, say, hey, I used to work for you. Can I have your human resources? I need to verify some employment dates. I'm Yeah, I'm looking for employment again. I need to make sure all my information is just right. And they'll probably go over they might ask you for your social security or whatever, and they'll look you up, and boom, they'll tell you the date, exact start date, boom, what you were making, why you were there, and all that. So again, this is another activity that, maybe you spend a day, maybe 2 days, just to get you out of that rut, you know. But you got to have this stuff. You got to have it for your applications. You got to have it for your resumes, and you either put it on a little flash drive, or put it on a couple sheets of paper, carry it with you in your job file or whatever, and that way you have it right there. And so number five is more research of your past addresses. If you move around a lot, like me, maybe you have a lot of addresses in the last 7 years or something, Well, you need to verify all those address locations, because like off the top of my head, I couldn't remember, 7 years ago, when did I move in there, and how long was I there, and what was the exact zip code there, So, because a lot of applications will ask you this question, please list, your last 7 years of residence, and so that is another activity that you need to do and start researching and have all this information ready to go. Okay, number six is spend time connecting with your coworkers, with your past coworkers, and with your previous management and previous supervisors, especially in regard to references, because most applications are going to ask you for 3 management / supervisor references, and they're going to want you to list at least their phone number or their email, but you're going to need at least their phone number and email. So make sure you're in contact with those references and that they understand that you're using them as your reference. Now, you want to use 3 coworkers as a reference as well. So that is a general rule: 3 management supervisor references, 3 past coworker references. Now, stay in contact with these references every once in a while, because let me tell you something. I had an opportunity come up in the last year, and this one agency, see, every agency's particular, they all have their own quirks about them. So this one job agency says, I made it through the first interview, and they were getting me ready for the second interview, and they said, you know what, we can't move forward on the second interview yet because your references haven't gotten back to us. So, what is the lesson of all this? Is basically make sure you're in contact with your references, because something like this, I'm not saying that it happens all the time, but it did happen to me, is that if your references are not quick in getting back on certain circumstances, it'll cost you the job. So, I'm speaking from experience on this one. So, number 7 is keep in contact with all your past coworkers via email, LinkedIn.com, and maybe Facebook. Okay, sometimes it's best to keep Facebook separate from your job search activities, but I did, however, get in contact with some old friends from high school, even from elementary school, who were also on LinkedIn. So once I found them on Facebook, then I was like, oh, you have a LinkedIn profile, and then I got their LinkedIn contact, and I connected with them on LinkedIn.com. So Facebook is good for that, but But for me, I didn't really think Facebook was a really good job searching tool like LinkedIn.com. Um, so, like I said, you can use Facebook to connect with old friends, and then connect with them on LinkedIn.com. That's a good little technique. So basically, um, what I don't like about LinkedIn.com, it can be good at times. Some agencies will be like, "Oh, you have a LinkedIn.com profile. Can you send me that link as well?" And you can have referrals on LinkedIn.com, and it's a great little site. But sometimes it locks you into a little mold, like you are this, you know, and you want to be flexible. You want to be able to change your resume every week if you have to. And that's what I kind of liked about CareerBuilder, when I could go in, I could delete my other resume, I could reload a new one. If I'd been to a recent interview and I had some talking points that were just better at explaining some of my job skill sets, you know, that was incorporated, and it was good to just be able to be that flexible, because you have to be flexible in this environment, and you have to mold yourself to what others are looking for. Not that you're molding yourself to what others are looking for, but you're enhancing those aspects of yourself that will automatically fit into that position you're looking for. And so, number 8, if you have any certifications, so if you have certificates and whatever, you got to have all that information ready on hand for your applications. This is something else that you can, do. All of these activities that I'm telling you are outside of the job search arena. They're outside of the, how to have a good interview, how to write a A1, resume, whatever. All these activities I'm telling you right now, these are activities I had to learn the hard way. But these are good activities to get you out of that rut, point and click, point and click. So, if you have any certifications, you need to spend time getting that information together. I had a certification. I was like, a lot of applications was asking me, when does this certification expire? I was like, I don't know, So one day I actually called that company that I got certified from, and I read them off my certificate number, and they were like, oh, that does not have an expiration. It's it was good from like April of 2000 and forever. So it's good to get little pieces of information like that. So that's the other thing. Number 9, don't list your address on your resume. Just list your city, state, zip code, name, phone number. You don't need to do that. And you don't want to do that, because you're putting your address location out there for everyone to see. So keep it down to your city and your state. Number 10, go to job agencies that specialize in your field of work. Just one day I was just on the internet. I was like, hey, why don't I look up what agencies are offering all these jobs that I want? So I was like, oh, well, here's a job that I would love. Oh, what agency offers that? So then I go to that agency's website, look up, where they were. And this was like, over a year ago. I was like, oh, well, this agency's over there in Diamond Bar, California. Oh, well, so I was like, well, what do I have to lose? I'm just sitting here at home, not doing anything. So I might as well get out of the house. So I was like, okay, well, I'll drive down there tomorrow. So that was an activity that I did. I got dressed up, went down there, and I found out that they were on the 3rd floor of this building. Walked in, real casual, went in the elevator, 3rd floor, walked into their office, and said to the receptionist, oh, hi, I didn't have an appointment today, but I wanted to see if I could meet with a recruiter and see if I could register with your agency. because a lot of agencies will do that. I'm not saying that I'll work for everyone, but hey, what do you have to lose? If you're not working, you got all the time in the world, right? So it turned out I was able to meet with somebody that day and talk with them briefly. Okay, now that was great. If I was turned away, who cares? At least I got out of the house. But I have to tell you something from that experience. That particular agent did not give up on me. They kept calling me back, and whenever opportunities would come up, and I was able to get 3 different interviews at this one company, which eventually I landed this 12-month contract with. So what did we learn from all that? I mean, when you have a face-to-face experience with somebody, they can attach your face to that voice over the phone, and it makes that connection all the more stronger. And so it all came out of that from the seeds that I'd planted over a year ago. But I had to go through this 17 months of unemployment to finally get to this place. So what's the best thing? I just gave you 10 things that 10 things that you can do besides just looking for work. And you need to do all that because it gives you a time to examine yourself and examine how you present yourself to others. And that's really, whoa, I had to go through that. I had to go through this. I was going through all kinds of stuff during the 17 months, but it's really about that. Finding a peace in your life is a whole nother issue. You can watch some of my other videos or whatever, but this is so important that that we learn how to present ourselves to others. And one more thing I would say is it's important to get involved with charity work. Now, not just because it's the right thing, but it's also the sensible thing. This seems kind of cold and callous, but first thing a lot of these job agencies and these employers are going to ask is, what have you been doing while you've been looking for work or you've been laid off? What have you been doing? And if you can just boom without hesitation say, oh, I've been down at the local food charity, helping out on weekends, or oh, I've been down at the homeless shelter, helping out in the kitchen pretty much weekly, or whatever it is, Meals on Wheels or whatever, if you can do that just one day a week for like 3 hours, you're going to increase your chances of employment because you may not think you'll be out of work for a long time, but you never know. So, as soon as you get laid off, the smartest thing you can do is just go out and get involved in volunteer work, because it's going to put your resume in the right pile for interviews. Because if you just say, oh no, I've just been looking for work, or just continuing to look for work, that's not good, because employers want to see that you're helping out in some way through volunteer work, and that's going to put you above the rest in this brutal fight for employment, and that's how it is. So that's very important. So as for the rest of all of the employment advice, like I said, I'm going to leave that up to the employment experts. And I don't think I was ever much really inspired by a lot of what I read online, even on Monster.com and these job sites, on what to do. And so what I'm telling you is what I believe helped me. And the rest of it all is really good to read. Just keep reading it, even if you just like, oh gosh, you could. I know there was a couple articles that I really had to comment on because they were so pie in the sky and just not reflected of of our economic situation, and like, what are you saying? These job tips didn't help me at all. And so anyway, that's my experience. I hope it helps all of you. God bless you all, and keep seeking truth.